Alright, folks, welcome to another edition of Late Night Dominion, episode 29. Thanks for joining us again tonight. I am your host, Aegon, along with Mr. Muscle Man, Bankspace, the French mime, and pretty boy of the show, Mr. Nixus, and joining us, special guest, Mr. Hardcore Econ PvPer, Anrez. So, to start the show, take it away, Blank.
Yeah, you folks are going to be missing Beetle. Tonight he had to go save the world, as we often have to do. So while he's out, we've invited Anrez. It's going to be a good time. Tonight, Wildstar Weekly News that you need to know, we're going to talk a little bit about Spellslinger. All the info broken down. You don't have to read a thing. You just got to sit there with an adult beverage in hand. We're going to talk a little bit about dungeons from a YouTube video that was put up, an exclusive. We picked all the gold out of there. We're going to feed it to you folks. Make sure that if you have any links, breaking news, or questions, to send it to Kat in chat. Please don't link anything in chat, because it's just going to get banned by the bot. Make sure to follow this Twitch channel. Sometimes we have awesome things like town halls and other events going on that are Wildstar related. Make sure to check us all out on Twitter. All of our names are right there. And check out our stuff on Facebook. And with that, we're going to get into your Wildstar Weekly News. On Wednesday, we had the reintroduction of the Spellslinger. You're going to get the re-announcing, which is one link, and then their brand new redone up Spellslinger. They did a DevSpeak. There's a YouTube link that's going to head out to you folks, and an IGN video that went over the same information. 4 links, lots of information. We're going to start breaking it down for you folks. The AMA was done, I believe, on Thursday. It was done at Reddit. It's another link that's going to be coming to you guys. Nixus, I think you should start doing that, buddy. So here are some of the things that you folks need to know about the Spellslinger. There was a lot of people wanting to know the difference between the Spellslinger and the Esper. So we got all the information about it for you. We're going to hit you with it. The Spellslinger is more sustained damage with controlled periods of burst. Spellslinger's precision area effect healing versus single target healing, which is the Esper. The Spellslinger doesn't have as many crowd control options as an Esper does. Now here's the big thing, we're going to get a little bit into this. The Esper is gated in resources. The Spellslinger isn't. So, as a Spellslinger, you can use your innate, which we'll get into, to choose when to do burst damage and healing. Because it isn't gated, the burst is not as high as an Esper, but it's still significant. What this means is you're able to run around and at will, very situationally, decide I'm going to use my innate right now to do extra damage or extra healing. Because it's not gated, because it's free. Gated means that there is something in the way, whether you have to build up enough resource or whatever. Because it's on command, on demand, you choose, you're not going to see those big, huge numbers as you would see with somebody that's gated, the Esper. However, it's still going to be significant because you get to situationally choose when you want to pop those. And there was a lot of people asking about the healing, it being area of effect. Is it still as effective as the Esper, who has a single target heals? It's still being tested in dungeons and raids. And there's been a lot of discussion about, the healer tank combo viability. Next big section we got here, folks, is the Spellslinger abilities. True Shot and Charge Shot are big stationary nukes. We talk about the Spellslinger, we talk about being mobile. That's the biggest part about them. But that's not the only thing. You trade your mobility for that damage output. So you stand still, you're able to hit somebody pretty hard. Also, a next little note on abilities, if you're able to get off a well-timed gate ability, this is the teleport ability, you can reduce or avoid falling damage. So this has some cool implications, definitely in PvP. Now, the next part is about the classes, their abilities, and in totals. We're going to talk about this for a little bit. Hopefully, we're going to turn this into a little bit of round table for this. Every class is able to choose from 30 abilities in total. So you're getting 30 things, and the breakdown looks something along these lines. 10 assault abilities. These are the ones you put into your DPS rotation. 10 support abilities. These are your heals, potential tank rotation abilities, and 10 utility abilities. Hard CC, defensive cooldowns, cleanses, things like that. So before I go on here, you've only got, so many things to pick from on your LAS. Out of 30 things, I'm sure there's somebody that can do math and whatnot. 30 abilities, 7 that you can put on your bars. They have different things. How is this significant, guys, to how classes are going to play? We can keep it specific to Spellslinger. We can talk about all the classes in general. But I don't think you're going to see full assault builds without some utility and potential support. I don't think it's just going to be all of one. So moving from there, let's hear some thoughts. Nixus, how about you?
So my first initial thought when it comes to the 10-10-10 is it doesn't seem like there's as much choice as I thought there might originally be. What I'm looking at right now with the way the build is offered is that, like you were saying, you're going to end up having to pick from maybe 5 or 6 assault abilities, maybe switch up, have 1 or 2 support and 1 or 2 utility. Because for some reason, I'm thinking like when you only have 10 assault abilities, right, and you're limited to an action set of 8 to 10 skills, you're eventually not going to be able to use all of them, right? Any game I've played in the past, when it comes to all your damage output abilities, you never want to use all of them because some of them just aren't really on par or they might not be, as useful. So it's definitely going to end up being something, in my opinion, that's going to be like, let's say 4 to 5 assault abilities. You pick your 1 or 2 on-the-go heals. I'm assuming as the Spellslinger, you're going to want to be mobile, especially since it's going to be, like one of the lighter classes. So rather than staying and, let's say, charging your true shot or your charge shot in an arena, you might want to have something a little bit more mobile, play a little bit more like I've been saying, kind of like a Disc Priest in arenas and WoW, where you run around, you've got your on-the-go heal like Penance, and then you've got your couple defensive cooldowns. This is the class that I've wanted to play the most. Okay, it's the one that I've been reading up on the most, that I've been most excited about, mainly because, like I said, it sounds like it's going to play a lot like a Disc Priest, except for it's going to be holding 2 guns, right? And I like highly mobile classes. Personally, from what I've seen with the Esper and with the Warrior, not necessarily what I'm looking at. The Spellslinger is going to be an interesting class for sure. I'm waiting to see exactly what the cooldown is going to be on the resource that we were discussing about earlier, because you said it's free to use, right? And you don't have to build it up, but once you've used it, how long is it going to be to recover that, until you can use it again? Is it going to be a pretty consistent thing? Or is it going to be like a 5-minute cooldown? So it's going to be an interesting combination of skills to see if you have to balance out the burst and the damage per second or heals per second, whichever build you may want to go. Honor, has any opinions?
Yeah, by breaking it down this way, and I didn't think of it the way that you guys just described it, but I'm probably less afraid of playing a Spellslinger now than I was before. I usually hide behind a slower moving character with heavy armor because I'm not a fast reactive type of player. I'm situational, but I wouldn't say that you guys see me play Team Fortress. I'm not overly mobile in my gameplay. But the concept that we can actually drop in utility abilities along with my assault abilities gives me the thought process that maybe I spec a certain way that I'm not killing as fast as Unix's, but I choose 2 stuns or 1 crowd control and a stun where you don't necessarily need those because you're lining things up better and you're using good burst damage. Hey, I group them up, I hit them with my stun. Now that my mob's in one area, I can grind them down. So, sure, I'm sure it's going to be optimum to play this as a run and gun in class, but the ability to put in a little bit of crowd control, a little bit of slowing on your mobs, I think will allow it for us, average players who don't play the run and gun type of character as well. It won't chase us away from this class, and I think I was happy to see that. And in the vid we showed some interesting stuns, we showed some interesting disorients that they can throw on the mobs, and I think by grouping up and then kind of working that direction, I think the information I showed this week probably brought this back onto my playlist when before it was kind of falling off it, because the concept of being a completely dodging run and gun in light armor glass cannon that's got to jump around, that kind of chased me away from the concept of the class. Blake, what do you see the differences for this versus what you knew before?
Well, my thing is this: now we have some hard numbers to play with, and we are gonna, guys, we're probably gonna come back to this, but we wanted to at least start getting into the numbers, and we'll get into it when we start talking about spell power and spell surge down below. We start talking about CCs, 30 abilities, 7 that you can put down. I see there having to be a lot of min-maxing happening and very specific builds being set up for very specific encounters. And when I say encounters, I mean PvP, PvE, maybe even per poll. You go in to do a dungeon and you go from pulling 2 big mobs to pulling a crowd of 5 or 6. You might have to be, switching your stuff out so that you're able to keep, I'm putting this into a tank perspective. But let's say even in, DPS for Spellslinger, you might go from wanting to nuke one guy down to wanting to spread your damage out. You're going to want to mess around and see how these things synergize the best. It has a lot of implications. I guess the biggest one for me is 10 abilities that are hard CCs, defensive cooldowns and stuff. I'm already going to be planning to put probably 2 of those on my bar no matter what, because I see myself putting 2 utilities and then 5 base what I'm doing. So if I'm doing, I'm going for, assault abilities, I'm going to have 5, and then I'm going to have 2 utilities that, whether it's a hard CC, a defensive, whatever, I see myself carrying 2 of those at all times, and that being the balance going forward. That may not be the case, but I find that being the most meta, the most middle of the ground approach that allows you to pick up 5 of your attack, damaging, supporty, healy, whatever's, tank, DPS abilities, and then allows you the ability to have 2 oh shits or defense cooldowns or a utility spell. So that's my thoughts on those and how they're going to play it with the LES. Aegon?
We definitely find it interesting. This whole layout applies to all classes across the board, so it's interesting to know that everyone's going to have 10 different abilities in each category to choose from. And the way this is laid out, I definitely see that it's going to come down to a lot of standard builds for different types of fights. So number one, I'm hoping we will see a very large amount of preset builds that we can save with this, because we know we're going to need them, because if we know that there's going to be some abilities we're going to have to pull in and out constantly depending on the type of fight we're going into, or type of healing we're going to have to do for that certain type of fight. Also, knowing how many of each abilities that everybody has, you also kind of can learn what to expect a lot easier, and you can really memorize what each class can and can't do. So and as time goes on, you're going to even learn, if someone's using this ability, they're going to follow it up with this ability, because that effect may or may not enhance or help that other ability down the road. So.
Okay. Well, we talked a little bit about that. Folks, we might come back to it. We've got some more cool stuff coming to you about the Spellslinger. Another note that we made from the Spellslinger abilities is that at this time, you won't be able to switch places with someone while falling in midair.
That's
an ability they have. It has some cool implications, but we'll see. And there was a clarification that sigils aren't actually abilities, but they are the lore explanation for the different types of spells that a Spellslinger can cast. A lot of people are having what I've seen some sort of a hard time really connecting with the Spellslinger, and what Carbine's been trying to do is explain the type of the class that they are, so that it's not just Space Cowboy, but there's a lore explanation for the reason that they have the ability to disappear into the void, which is what we're going to get into right now. The Spellslinger Void. The void is an entirely different plane of existence. While you're in it, you can't see out of it, but you can see other players in the void. They have an ability that sends them into the void for a few seconds. This can be upgraded to last closer to 7 seconds. First of all, holy shit. They will be tweaking this during beta testing. And lastly, well, not lastly, but a couple more notes. The void is a different plane, but while moving around in it, you will be placed back in reality in a safe area. So, no getting stuck in walls, we hope. Anres, you want to comment on here?
Yeah, after the vid where we showed the jump around on the screen, I felt like it's somewhere between the blink and then in Guild Wars 2, you shoot the arrow for the thief and you jump to that spot. And then as soon as I thought about that, I thought of my WVW time where thieves were using that to climb up the walls and stuff like that. So I'm like, the instant I thought of is, boy, this is going to be interesting for more plots, right? I mean, we don't know nothing about them other than they're big fortresses of death. Therefore, they have big fortresses of death walls. And what is void walking and all that stuff going to do from a defense, offense point of view? I mean, where most of us have to leave out the front gate, do Spellslingers get to jump off the cliff and then jump around and then land down at the bottom? I mean, yeah, there's been so many exploits in my past gaming experiences dealing with characters got a chance to move differently than everyone else that it interests me, but also frightens me a little bit when it comes to game mechanics. So.
A couple of comments that I actually have on this ability. I'm most excited about this right here. I'm just thinking about the possible combinations and the situations in which you can apply this to really, capitalize on a skill like this. First off, being in your own complete void in a completely different invisible space for up to 7 seconds is huge for PvP. That is just, 2 seconds would have been like, all right, this is pretty good. If I'm about to get last hit or something, I can pop my void and I can, decide to run away, hide behind a pillar or something, blink away while I'm in the void, something like that. 7 seconds, you were comparing it to the skill that, was it Rangers or Rogues had in Guild Wars 2 where they shot the arrow and they'd appear where it landed, right? But the thing is about a skill like that is to use it, you pick where you're going to land and once you've shot it, you can't decide oh, well, never mind. While it's in midair, I want it to go that way, right? With something like the void, you pop your void. If you're running those first 2 seconds towards one pillar and you're like, wait, no, that is not the direction I want to go. You turn around and while you're in the void, you pop your gate, which already takes you 20 meters and you keep running. You have a lot of decision making, a lot of flexibility for your decision making in that kind of time frame with something like void. Now my question is there going to be some kind of downside to it? If you're engaged with somebody and you pop it, does it take them into the void with you? Or is there some kind of block where if you're in the void, you can't use other skills? Something to kind of balance it out a little bit? Because I feel like that's going to be a skill that's going to be really abused in PvP. Think about objective-based PvP where you have to capture a point and you have your front line and the enemy team's right in front of you. No one knows how to get past them. The AoE is going off left and right. Nobody can stealth. But then you've got the Spellslinger who's don't worry about it, guys. I'm going to go into the void. Nothing's going to hit me in the void. And all you have to do is start sprinting, hit your void skill, gate. You're already past their front lines, hide behind a stump. You're past them. No one even knows, So it's I'm really looking forward to testing the skill out. Guilty, I may end up trying to even get through. I know some of you may have participated in the open beta weekends for Guild Wars 2, but one of the only things that I did was go around as a mesmer, sorry, and I try to blink through walls and that kind of stuff and see how, kind of bug test it. So I'm thinking with the void, I'll be bug testing a lot of stuff, especially if it says you can run through things, but when you come out of the void, you're not going to be stuck in the item. It's going to push you to the side so you're not stuck in it. How's that going to work though? If I'm farther into it, which side am I going to come up on? So if I'm like trying to void through a wall, that kind of thing. So really excited to see how it turns out. Blank, I know, I'm sorry, I'm ranting on about this skill. Do you want to make any comments?
Oh, dude. First of all, I think of PvP implications, as we just heard here. Void Slip is annoying as heck in PvP because Spellslingers basically get a get out of combat free card unless their opponent is also a Spellslinger. This is, I don't want to yell OP without having seen this.
This reads
But
OP.
anytime you can disengage on every level, shit is broken. And maybe I'm incorrect. We don't know how this works. But when I hear something like this, I think, I wanted to be, what was it? The Ranger in Guild Wars 2 until we found out about portal bombing and invis training in Guild Wars 2. And I was like, I have to be a Mesmer now because we can be invisible. I can drop a fucking portal. I can run over here. I can drop another portal. And then we can just stomp on everybody. Any sort of things like this always make me nervous. And yes, I like the idea that they're trying to be like, hey, well, if there's another Spellslinger, they can chase him around. It still has some pretty crazy implications because it's not the same plane of existence. There's no arcane explosion to pull somebody out. You are somewhere that it sounds like you're not going to be able to be touched. So there is no more OP than stealth. So it will be interesting. I want to see how it ends up working. Jesus. We're being told it's no more OP than stealth, and it's way less OP than Pally Bubble. We'll have to see how it actually works, but 7 seconds of invis on an additional plane makes me think of force recon groups for my battleground players. Like, hey, we're going into this battleground. All Spellslingers bust right. Pop your stuff halfway across the map. Nobody sees you, and now you're able to tactically approach stuff without even being seen. Like, it's just, there's lots and lots of really cool implications. So we shall see, but definitely a lot of interesting talk on this for sure. Aegon, how about you, man? Let's hear some feedback from you or some thoughts.
Yeah, actually, you just brought up a comment I was going to talk about. Depending on what our relationship to the normal world is versus the 8th or 9th dimension, just think of the ambush possibilities that can come out of this skill as well. And especially if where you are in the void correlates exactly to where you are in the real world, so you can kind of know where you're going to end up out of when you come out, even though it looks different from where you are now. And I'm just waiting to see like entire gang squads of like just Spellslingers going around, just coordinating a flank attack, all voiding in from the side while the rest of the group is distracted and just desolating them. So, I mean, just the tactical possibilities for it is rather interesting. What do you think, Nixus?
Sorry, guys, just had to unmute my mic there. So one of the comments I want to make real quick regarding what I believe it was Justice said in chat here, it's no more OP than stealth. Here's the question I have to ask. Is stealth the same way, the mechanic the same way it does in other games where if you get hit by like a skill while you're stealth, it'll unstealth you? And is that going to be applicable to the void? Like while you're in the void, if there's let's say a skill that gets cast in your direction in the other dimension, is it going to hit you? Probably not, right? You're in a void, right? So it might be more OP in the sense that like you can get past anything and remain stealthed or in the void. While if you're, let's say, a stalker and you're stealth and you're trying to get past a front line, you can't, even if you're stealth, because you're getting hit by skills, you're taking that damage. So, it's either unstealthing you or killing you too fast for you to even get past that front line. So in my opinion, even though it's on a shorter time frame, it is more powerful than a stealth mechanic. Just my personal thought. If you, Blank, I know you have a lot of experience in arenas. If you feel like that's not really, a fair statement, let me know, but...
Okay, well, here's the deal. For a bunch of these different things, we're going to throw some crazy scenarios out there. Let's go with it. You're doing arena. All of a sudden, bro gets low. If he pops Void Slip or whatever the hell, Is he out of combat for 7 seconds? Is he going to regen? Can he pop potions? Can he bandage? No need to line of sight because I'm in another plane of existence. LOL, 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 LOL. I'm going to eat a food buff, whatever. So crazy implications there. Yes, it may not be forever, but it's an on-demand, go screw yourself. You can be chased by other Spellslingers. Cool if they have another Spellslinger. If they're carrying that, they may not be carrying it. So is it something like, if you're doing PvP, you have to have this spell? I'm going to take it another step further. Battleground war plots. Forced recon groups. So you see some guys running off to the side, no big deal. All of a sudden, they're gone. You don't know what's up. You see the enemy kind of coming towards you, but it looks like they're hesitating and waiting. Next thing you know, Spellslingers are everywhere. Stuns are being knocked everywhere, and there's just a friggin' train of damage coming down on you that you literally had no idea was happening. Like, it's the same mechanic as a Stalker, with the stealth. Cool beans. But it's not another. When they say another plane of existence, it has implications, and I really, really hope there are people around to ask questions about this this weekend, but that stuff's pretty cool because in most games when you're in stealth, you can be knocked out of stealth. When I think plane of existence, I think nana boo boo, stick your head in doo doo, you can't do shit until I decide to come out. So a lot of really cool implications for those that are very tactical and can move their teams within a 5-7 second time window. That's what I got. I think that's really, really cool, and we'll open up some interesting play. We'll have to see how it all unfolds. More than likely, if that's the way that it works, you're gonna have a void, a defensive void, bro, who's just hanging out to be like, all right, I popped it. There's nobody coming in. There's no groups of them literally coming to get me right now.
Well,
so
if it even gets down to it, you're gonna have attack Spellslinger groups, and you're gonna have counter-attack Spellslinger groups. It can get really ridiculous.
It will be interesting, that's for sure. All right, so we've talked about the OP part. We talked about the void. We're gonna see how this works out. Lots of cool implications. Now let's talk a little bit about the resource mechanic change. The Spellslinger's resource is called Spell Power and Spell Surge. Spell power is now controlled meaningfully by the player. You can do spike damage or healing on demand. We talked about this before with the difference between Esper and Spellslinger. It's not gated, you pick it. Spell Surge is restricted by spell power. Spell power slowly regenerates over time. While Spell Surge is active, so it's on-off, turn on a light switch, it causes a drain on spell power, but it adds bonuses to assault and support power abilities. So, DPS abilities hit harder. Kind of a cool note here. Snares last longer. You can change how long your, at least it says snare for now, will last on somebody. That has some cool implications too. With that, I think Anres wanted to ask some questions.
Yeah,
so
I
Anres,
have some questions for you three, to be honest. I'm late to the game. I won't lie to you. I'm late to the game from paying attention to both Esper and Spellslinger because early on when they were announced, I kind of set them aside as, second, third, they're an alt maybe for me. But I'll be honest with you, the live stream that I saw, it really kind of tickled my fancy, and the information we saw just on this Wednesday, I was just like going, wow, I may not play a Spellslinger extremely well, but it's not a class that I would chase myself away from. So if you had to put in WoW and blend WoW and Guild Wars 2 mechanics, what cross classes would you compare and contrast Espers and Spellslingers with using those two games? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because Nick just did, the Disciplined Priest. That got me thinking too. I loved my Shadow Priest. That was one of my first ones. That was my first character I got in 70. I loved it. Nobody wanted me in their runs, but because it's like, Shadow Priest, great. When we need a DPS person that can really focus on one person, we'll give you a hauler. So I'm just curious for people maybe in the stream that haven't followed these two classes as well as many have. What would you guys use as compare and contrast for blending of the classes from what you've seen so far?
And we're using which two games to pick those classes out of?
WoW and Guild Wars 2, if you can blend the two together, because, we do cross over a lot.
Feel free to go first, Blake. I gotta think about this one.
All right, so... Oh, we're getting some feedback, guys. Mute your stuff and fix. Esper. Still getting feedback. Esper damage-wise... Mute. Mute, guys. Mute your stuff. Still getting feedback. I'm going to say when it comes to Esper's damage, it really feels like the mage in WoW, where you can kind of build it up, get a couple procs, blow someone else's face off. Healing Esper, I'm going to have to say it feels a lot like a paladin. Nice, strong, single target, from what we're being told, heals. Spellslinger, on the other hand, damage-wise, with an on-off ability, I can't think of one that had the ability really to pop that like that. There's not a really strong significance, because normally, in most games, you may have had something to pop, but not an entire resource like that. And not that was at your command. It was a use and gone sort of setup. Like you have 10 seconds of additional damage and that's it. Not you can turn off being that asshole who snares people everywhere. Or you can turn off and on extra damage for that burst at the end to wipe somebody out. So it was make or break. So because I was thinking...
I think it's Shaman probably the closest.
Yeah, that's the closest. That's really the closest I come to the Shaman. And healing wise, I would probably even still say, I would probably go with Shaman. A little bit stronger for those chains. Still able to drop some single targets, but good for raid all around. Maybe even as close as Nix has said with not holy, but several different iterations of discipline. And that's just based off of the information that they've given us. So if I'm trying to think of area of effect healing, I'm really thinking discipline, not because of shields, but just as an actual mechanic. So... that would be mine for correlations. They're not very... The only one that's really, really strong is Esper, Mage. Esper, any game where your resource is gated, but once it's ready to rock, you unload that shit and everybody look out. The rest are not that strong. They've told us they're going to give us things like the warrior that we're used to seeing. They're going to give us mechanics we're comfortable with, but not everything's going to be the same old fucking mold. So Spellslinger's really a nice mix of a lot of different things. Go ahead, Nixus. Knock this one around a little bit.
I'm right there with you when it comes to the Esper. When it comes to the Esper heal, I'd say something like the Holy Priest or Holy Paladin, right? I guess in Guild Wars 2 there was no Trinity Force, so it's hard to say an exact comparison when it comes to that. The DPS version of the Esper would probably be most like a mage. Not exactly, but it is in the sense that, you do summon your little companions or your little, the Esper summon the little dudes that run around and may have their buffs or debuffs or whatever it is. So it's kind of like the same thing with a mage and its water elemental, just for that little bit of extra DPS. Now, when it comes to the Spellslinger, it's a really fun line because it's not exactly like it, but it is in the sense that, the Spellslinger is, I feel like in an arena or in PvP, it's going to play a lot like a hunter in the sense that there's going to be a lot of running, and stopping for a second to pop a couple skills, as many instant skills as you can, and then continue running. Now, the one thing that I have to ask you guys is, and the reason I keep saying that it's not exactly like the Hunter is that in WoW, the way the combat worked is that you had your auto attack or your arcane shot, for example, so you could run, jump, spin around, pop arcane, land back facing the direction you were originally running, and keep running. So you were kiting the whole time. How are you going to do that with telegraphs? Like, let's say it's a spell that's casted over 2 seconds, or whatever it may be. How are you going to be able to jump, turn around, like while you're in the air, shoot 3 or 4 shots off, and land back around and keep running? Like, it just, I may not be able to visualize it correctly. I just don't see it working the same way though, because it's you don't have the auto attack. It's not about being bad or not. It's about how the mechanic works.
No, I'm just saying. Wait. No, my turn. I think it's going to be like James's very little experience in Kaz for WoW, where the damn wolf would chase us, and some poor schmuck is running in a circle kiting, and you guys stand in the center and just turn in circles and are just gunning this thing around. Because, I mean, if you can't freeform target, and you actually have to build a telegraph out in the direction you're facing, how do you drop it and turn back around again? Is there a hotkey that says turn around instant? I mean, you know what I mean? Or how do you change?
I don't want that. That would be really, really terrible.
Yeah.
So,
there better not be a hotkey that instantly turns you around, or I'm gonna have a thing or two to say. But you should be capable of being able to.
In my mind, I'm writing it right now. Yes.
Listen, this is where I'm going to say a little baddie's going to be bad. Spellslinger is mobile, right? That's the whole point of it. What you just said for the Huntard is 1,000,000,000% correct, and I wish I'd thought of that when I was talking. I totally skipped over it. You're going to be able to do some damage, and then mobility your ass around, decide to go CC them, or keep kiting, or turn your stuff on and snare them. You get to, and I'm actually kind of nervous now to see that, because if you have a gap close, you waste your gap close, they can then bounce away. They maintain the system. They maintain that distance from you. You could be up shit's creek depending on, who you're facing and what they have. But that kiting ability is what the Spellslinger is all about. Depending on what they put on their LAS, they could potentially be that class where you're like, I couldn't touch the Hunter. Instead of a friggin' trap, it was like he spell surged and snared me, and I tried to get close to him, but then he jumped away from me, and then I tried.
And then he voided.
To again, but I was so down. You know what I mean? Like, they are, because they don't have that gated resource to dump lots of damage out there. They're going to be super mobile, so I expect to see them to be those annoying ones where you're like, oh my god, this guy will not go the F away. Can we please just run a CC train on him and kill him off? For sure. That was a really good analogy, Nixus. I defindefinitely feel that's how it's going to turn out.
On the whole topic about being bad, though, on that whole topic, I am excited to see this kind of class in a game where we are, going to be using telegraphs rather than a system where if you're kind of in their direction, your auto attack will curve towards them. The fact that you're actually going to have to start aiming is really going to, and we said this time and time again in past shows, it's going to really weed out those that are good compared to those that are bad. Because it's going to have to be a full 180, shoot a couple times, turn back around. You're not going to be able to kind of 90-degree it and maybe twitch a little bit and have your auto attack or your arcane shot be like the Wanted movie, be curve around the corner or something.
That's not even the That's not even the 180. I mean, you're gonna have to people are gonna have to learn to lead people. I mean, it's gonna be a nice, fun learning curve.
Can you see those?
A plus D.
That's how you strafe. A and D, buddy.
Yeah.
Plus dodge. A and D plus dodge, bro. I just want to throw it out there.
Only works in the direction you're facing.
Right. Bro's coming at you. I'm not going to turn away. I'm going to keep hitting him. When he comes at me, I'm going to dodge to the left or right, create distance, and keep doing it.
Someone who hasn't played a Hunter before. I don't think he's ever played a Hunter.
I didn't play cheese dick things like Hunters or DKs. So let it be known. I never played those two. Knew about how to play against them, but never played them myself. But yeah, I really do feel like what you're talking about isn't going to be an issue. You're going to see people that are, if you're running away, you're not going to want to continue doing damage. You're either going to head into combat and dodge in and out or use your resources, to sprint or whatever. And then break contact is literally turn around and peace out. I don't think you're going to be making those choices where I just kind of want to do some damage, because turning away is disengaging. If you're disengaging, you should be piecing out to get a speed up, to get a heal, to do whatever. Otherwise, you should be trying to minimize the damage you take and pumping out as much damage and being as annoying as possible as a Spellslinger for sure.
Perfect. Should we move on to the next topic here?
Yeah. Let's hammer on down here. Somebody said something about this in chat, so if we answer this now, we'll probably delete your question, but there was a comment on Reddit about Wildstar versus other games. Basically, it was about, why are they set up the way that they are, and they explained that by allowing classes to specialize as either DPS or healer or DPS and tank, they're hoping to see more queues pop on a regular basis. Yes, it sucks when you kind of have to rock different types of gear. A lot of my hardcore progression folks know what that's like. When you got to carry fire resistance gear, whatever the hell you need to go somewhere, or your arena gear and your PvE gear. But it'll be nice to be able to be like, hey, today I kind of feel like doing DPS, and I'm going to queue up, and I know that the DPS queue is a little longer, but I'm going to go pick flowers until then. Or be like, my tank set is strong, I just kind of want to truck through an easy instance, I'm going to queue up as tank. So they're hoping to reduce the burden on those queues by allowing people to pick, one or the other. There was a question about game design and how it's going to work with telegraphs. When you see somebody on, a lot of us have raided, or, most of us here have done dungeons. It really stinks if you're in a group and you see somebody getting low and they're out of, they're too far away for your heal to go off. Well, in Wildstar, they have to be in your telegraph. They have to be in that green happiness. So how are they going to work around that? When you see somebody low, on your UI or your raid frame, your party, and you can't find that person, you're looking all around and you're like, oh shit, Onrez is low. Where is he? I see him here, trying to get your telegraph lined up. They said that they're getting lots of great dungeon and raid content that is currently undergoing serious play testing. And the plan over the next few months is to be constantly tuning this content on both the dungeon, so both the PvE content and the class side, to make sure gameplay is smooth and as fun as it can be. So they're aware that this is, a design issue. If I'm looking at my raid frame and I see somebody's low, how do I translate that information I see into getting them a heal? Because in other games, that's not, you're able to just click the heal, and if they're in range, it goes off. In Wildstar, you're going to have to be hitting them with your telegraph. So they're aware of it. They're working on it. Expect to see some cool information about that in the future. Next little note we got here is, hey, Carbine, we'd like to be able to skin our weapons. The response is, this is not going to be implemented at launch, but something that can be explored. So we're going to have a little blank space rage moment here. Dear Carbine, I do not want to play Terra. I do not want to skin my weapon. I want my weapons to come from your awesome art people and be awesome on me. I do not want Joe Blow dipshit to be able to have something that looks fucking awesome that did nothing, whether it's cash shop or just skinned it from wherever else. So please, do not explore this, do not implement it, put it in a toilet, flush it, say goodbye, no thank you. That's just me. Andres, how about you, man?
+1.
Now, I'm
+2.
I'm not as far gone as Blank. Okay, Blank's
I'll be right back.
Blank's gone. See, he's gone right now from the entire conversation. What I don't want it skinned, but if I'm a crafter and I'm making something, and let's say I make Blank's big bad sword, right? It's an awesome sword. It looks a certain way. That's the skin. If somehow I make it better than Nixus, can you give me a tent? I don't want a new model, but they're not the same swords, right? I mean, somehow if my sword and the way I made it is better than the sword that Nixus made off the same model, is there any way to differentiate that model? I mean, does mine look sharper? Does mine gleam versus his does not? So I'm looking for nuanced differences based on feedback on my skill set as a crafter, still relying on the Ubul skill sets of the people at Carbine, because what the fuck do I know about making mods, or writing models or drawing, for Christ's sakes. But I'm just saying that if something happens in crafting and mine's better than Nixus's, they shouldn't be the same model, in my opinion. At least that's my hope.
I completely agree with you. And this is me speaking as an ignorant gamer who knows nothing about graphic design and texturing and that kind of stuff, as much as I would love to. So, that being out of the way, what I would suggest is having, texture masks or something like that, where if it's the very basic form of the model, it looks a little worn, or it doesn't look as, like you said, sharp, or it doesn't have a particle effect, not even a word, a particle effect where the tip of the sword shines, or I don't know how you could go about it, but adding more particle effects or more defined textures to make the sword or the whatever item you're using look better based on how good it is would definitely be a thing that I agree with. But back to the original topic though, about being able to actually skin your weapon, basically transmog, absolutely not. I don't even want that for gear. And I try to side with role players as much as I can, and I've talked about this time and time again in past shows, but to me, you just get the gear you get, and you like it or you don't, but it represents the effort you've put into the game. And that's what the whole point in the tier set was, in my opinion, when I wanted to get those tier sets, one, because they were good, and two, because they looked cool. I don't want to be, I don't know, it's just, I get the whole let the player play the game the way they want, but I'm going to go ahead and stay in my little box and say no, just deal with what you get. Blank space?
So, welcome back. I got some more whiskey. Now we'll get into this a little bit more. Skins. Terra is a fun game. I did some stuff on my stream with Terra. They're good people. Game didn't go in a direction I was really excited about doing, but one of the things that was really part of their design that I hated was at level 10, I put $1 into the fucking designer's pocket, and they gave me a fucking amazing badass sword skin that I could just take off and put on anytime I wanted. So those bros that were doing hardcore, hardest of the game shit had a skin, but mine looked artistically just as fucking badass. I hate that as a design choice for Wildstar, because the game is, for hardcore. If it's for the hardcore, you're supposed to earn your shit. They're supposed to, the gear that you get is supposed to mean something. Let's back off a little on, let's make everybody look badass, and let's have people wear what they wear. If you do veterans, your gear should look kind of cool. You do 20 mans, well, that shit looks legit. You do 40 mans, and holy fuck, death just walked past me. Did you see that? Or that bro has fucking angel wings. Holy ball sacks. I don't care. I want it to be cool. And now that we're talking about this, let's open up another can of worms, because we're talking about skinning weapons. Legendaries. Please, if you're going to have them and do them and make them, please make them worth their time. I don't care if you got to go through a crafting thing. I don't care if you've got to open it up in Wrath with the Lich King and you had to do a bunch of raid shit to get it. Make it meaningful. Somebody just said, in here, don't make it a grind fest. If it's something stupid that I can pay for and just grind and get, it's not a fucking legendary. It's just another friggin' crap epic. Please make sure that the stuff at endgame is tiered and meaningful based upon the amount of effort that people have to put in to get them. Nothing more gets me soapbox bitchin' mad than these sort of things. Did whoever typed this, did they want to talk about that, or should we just walk away now?
Like
No?
you said, I typed it. So like I said, yeah, I mean, legendary shouldn't be like the stupid grind fest we had in like Guild Wars 2. They should have like, you know, meaningful things like in WoW where I actually had to like go and kill, you know, Ragnos to get, you know, his hammer head, you know, to build my hammer and shit like that. That's the thing I'm looking for when I'm, you know, looking to earn my legendaries.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Nixus.
Just real quick, you know, I agree that it shouldn't be a complete and utter grind fest, but when something like that is in the game, there should be some kind of grind to it. Whether it's trying to kill a boss over and over until he finally drops that one item you need, or whether it's farming the mobs until you have 1,000 of, you know, the skulls from each of them that you need. There should be some kind of long-term goal to it. It shouldn't just be, I don't know. I'm not completely against grinding as long as there's like a really huge reward to it in the end. If it's like rep grind to get like a mount, I'm not as big of a fan as I would be if it's a rep grind for, like, let's say it's a month rep grind to get, or even not just a rep grind, an item grind or whatever it is, to get like this super legendary Spellslinger pair of guns that no one else is going to have in the game because I spent 3 months. Like, I'm fine with that. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, years later, when you're no longer in that version of the game anymore, people think back and they're just like, I can't, you know, that's the guy who put in 6 months to get that epic legendary that no one else is ever going to say they had, you know. I'm okay with that. I'm not completely against a grind fest for it. Blight, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No. So, I see some people talking in chat, and I know some people who's watching on YouTube might want to know. When I say meaningful, I mean meaningful in how difficult, how rare, and here's some examples. There was the sword in Wrath where you got like the base sword that was cool, but then you had to gather shit off of bosses, and you had to complete events, and you had to do achievements to get a really cool badass item. That not only is awesome gameplay, but it made the weapon special and cool. You know, everybody remembers the super rare drops, you know, the fucking Warglaves, the hammer, or putting together Thunder Fury. That was a baller deal to put together, and it meant something. When you saw somebody with that, you were like, holy balls, dude, that guy is with some badass people. It had meaning, not just because the content was so difficult, but also because of what they had to do to get there. And I also wanted to add in, too, because a lot of crafting people get all excited about, you know, what about us, what about us? I like the idea of having craftable stuff in raid environments. I remember at the time doing Serpent Shrine Cavern, there was a raiding drop that you needed to upgrade your, at the time, I think it was combat, because that's what the best shit was, and I was getting the crafted hammer. Things like that, I'm even cool with that because you have to level up your crafting, and you had to go, you know, do the quest, and you had to do all this extra shit, and you needed people. Meaningful. Please, 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 meaningful. Otherwise, it's a detriment, at least in my eyes. So, oh goodness, we're going to knock into another one here, and I think the rest of this is pretty cut and dry, but big announcement. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and we've talked about it before. Is there going to be a CC immune period? Confirmed. Reddit. Recently implemented diminishing returns on harsher CCs like stuns, knockdowns for PvP only. Some classes have CC breaking abilities and CC immunity abilities, which we know are called interrupt armors. So, we've talked about it, we've been waiting for it, now we hope for more information. So to start it off, what I'm going to say is, diminishing returns on stuns and knockdowns. Does that mean that they're going to be tiered? Does that mean certain CCs give a certain amount of diminishing return? Do you become overwhelming? Do you become immune if you take a bunch, like 2 stuns? Do you become immune after 3 blinds? things like that. So huge implications there. And I think Andres was going to throw an extra thing into the pot here. Andres, what were your thoughts about?
Yeah, I was just questioning when you guys do a lot more PvP than I do. I guess my concept is, is this diminishing returns? Is it based on if I throw 3 PvP stuns at blank space, is the act of me casting my stun diminished? Or is it because blank space got hit by X amount of stuns, the effect on blank space is less? And the reason why I think that's different is if we're on a 2-on-2 match and I get Nixus and it's me versus you two, and both Nixus and I are sitting there and we're just hammering you blank with stuns, is it because I cast 3 stuns and now you're seeing a diminished return on any new stun that I throw on you? Or is it because you've been hit by multiple stuns and now you're less impacted due to stuns? Does that make sense? Because that changes in 5v5 and whatever the large is that, if I'm being hit by multiple people with multiple stuns, do any and all stuns coming at me, are they diminished because I've been hit by so many? Or is it the person who's casting the stuns, because I've done a couple of stuns on one person, does my next stun, is it now diminished? Does that make sense?
I think it's based on the person who's affected by the CC and not the person who's casting it.
Well,
who's casting it? Okay.
If it goes
right,
like...
So it would be based on you. The number of times you've been globally hit by CCs, you'll be more immune to those CCs. It's not going to be like, let's say I'm fighting you and blank, and I cast 1 CC on you, and I'm going to follow up with 1 on blank. It's not going to be a reduced CC on blank because the first one I cast was on you.
Okay.
See what I mean?
I was just curious, if I cast 3 on you, does my 4th on you, is it my cast is diminished, or do you have a better resistance to stuns? Because if you have a better resistance to stuns, if blank now hits you with his first stun, I've hit you with 3, but on 4 you get a resistance. Blank's first stun on you is diminished, even though I'm the one that carried forward on that. You know what I mean?
That's how it worked in WoW, right?
Well,
I believe that's the way it worked in World of Warcraft.
Well, if it ends up being like the way most MMOs have developed it, it's going to be a cumulative effect on the person that being cast on. It doesn't matter how many people are casting it on you, where it's coming from. It's just going to be what's been done to you. So if you get 3 casts from blank and 1 cast from Nixus, those will total up to whatever scale that they're using to determine how diminished those returns end up being. Now,
is that going to be something that we see as a stackable buff, or how is that going to be represented in the game?
You probably won't be able to see it.
It's going to be an invisible...
It'll probably be an invisible stat you won't see.
Okay. It's not going to be like an interrupt armor that you can see, more than likely. It's going to be, for anyone who played Arena, there's going to be somebody, I guarantee, that'll make a mod that'll show you when somebody becomes immune. Depending on how Wildstar is going to do it. It's sounding like it's tiered. So if you get stunned or knocked down, you're going to get DR. So let's throw this into tiers. Stun knockdown gives you DR. Blind or your disarm, I'm trying to remember them all, or disorient, or so much. And then maybe something like tether is like smaller or something. I see this opening up a lot of different gameplay, but it makes me nervous based upon one thing. When is DR going to start? Because if I have an immune ability on myself, if I've got IA, if I've got interrupt armor, and I get hit with that, does that start putting me on DR, or do they cancel each other out? That'll be interesting to see. And then we're going to have to see where the meta goes for... dealing with that, because if you make somebody immune, that sucks. Like, that was one of the reasons why I played Priest Rogue, and I would open with sap, and if they trinketed, we knew that I could, if they were out of combat, resap, or we could fear them, hope that they went out of combat, and I could get a full sap, or potentially even blind, and then sap at the end. Their party would die. It turns into a tiered. Find out what the other people have and what you can do. One of the problems here is that You're going to see LAS and Synergy come into huge play. You're going to get outplayed by people who found awesome combos in arenas for sure that are going to be able to maybe not run hard CCs, but run like softer CCs, but run them so effectively that you don't ever get immune, which is what you're hoping to do. But they're going to be able to be annoying because DR is never going to fully affect you. Again, that's my assumption and guess based upon what they're telling me and what I know about PvP systems. But it'll be interesting to see. It may even be worth it, because if you sit in a full, if you become immune, but you're only immune after the effect has fully gone through, I don't mind dropping 2 stuns to make it so you're immune, but we've just dished out shit tons of damage, and now we just have to wait for the immune period to come off you, however long that is. So again, we're going to have to really see how this works out.
Based on what you're saying here, though, it's like you're going to have to make the decision between having your one skill that's a complete and utter stun for 3.5 seconds, for example, or which will provide them with that immunity, or it'll start the immunity. Or in exchange, you can have softer CC, like let's say you have 1 root and 1 silence, which both have let's say a 2-second duration, but combined they're not going to provoke that immunity. So it's like, which one you want to trade off? Do you want to waste an additional limited action set skill to have those two CCs that you'll combine to have the same effect that your 1 stun would have, but in exchange they're not immune? So like let's say you're running a 3v3, all 3 of you can have those soft CCs, end up having the same duration of CCs, but then not provoke those immunities. And it's just, there's going to be a lot of theory crafting on if it's worth it or not. And I don't know. I'm sure we'll see add-ons that'll show you've been like a little debuff or a buff that says you've been affected by a CC in the last 30 seconds, and it's gonna stack up to 5, and it'll be like your max CC or something like that. I'm sure we'll see an add-on that's something like that.
Yeah, well, I know, going back to what Blank said with interrupt armor, the way they've been talking about it, I got a feeling that we're not even going to see that diminishing returns countdown even begin until that interrupt armor is broken down, and then that counter probably won't even hit until after the first not interrupt armor effect hits. So if you have 2 interrupt armor, you're going to take those 2 hits, not worry about them. The third one, you'll take the effect of whatever hits you, and after that wears off, most likely your counter will start after that.
It definitely is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing some more information on this, because diminishing returns is always very interesting, and it will definitely, for those who make add-ons, this will be something that'll be strongly asked for once they figure out exactly what tiers there are, because it's important to know, especially in Arena for sure. If spell hits enemy and amount diminishing returns happens, then need to know when not immune to blow up CC chain again. So that's a huge thing. I'm really thinking about in the environment of arenas for sure. With that, we're going to move on to the last thing we have about the old Spellslinger. And it was about hitboxes. People, again, are still worried about hitboxes. Everybody hates that little jerk whose hitboxes are not normalized, and they're the size of the creatures. In Wildstar, non-player characters are not normalized. This means that the hitboxes are appropriate to the size of the creature. For all people who want to play the lovely little Chua, they are going to all be the same. This is to ensure smaller races don't have an extreme advantage when it comes to dodging telegraphs. So whether you're a huge Granok or a tiny little Chua, you guys are going to have the same amount of space in the world when it comes to getting hit by a telegraph. Good to know. It's a good call, and I definitely stand behind it. So we're going to knock into a couple more stuff, and then looks like we had a pretty good talk about Spellslingers. Some more weekly news that you folks need to know about Wildstar. That's why you guys are here, so we're going to feed some more to you. Lovely Kadem from the Carbine team randomly posted at Wildstar Roleplay with a couple of cool pictures. You guys should be seeing it here. Just some people sitting on things. It's kind of cool. So is now a thing. Make sure to, when you get tired, take a seat somewhere, because you can now do so. Chairs! Chairs everywhere! While looking around this week, we happened to meet a pretty cool person out there starting up their own little Wildstar blog. We wanted you folks to get a chance to go check it out. This is Blue Blade's Wildstar Blogspot. Very kind of a simple, nice background. Love the little Chua. Good articles. Just read this stuff this week. Wishing this guy good luck. I hope to continue to see more stuff from them. And I do believe that they attended the Wildstar Town Hall. So that was pretty cool to get to know them. And good luck with your fan site. Now we're going to start popping into some dungeon stuff. That came, it was a Dungeons chat with Brett. I don't know how to say that last name, Carbine developer. I believe this was from Mizpah, from Enigma. They got to sit down and discuss some stuff with Carbine. This is the information that you folks need to know. Some games, dungeons are not a part of the leveling up process. We're being told that dungeons are. They did hint, however, that it's not going to be the most efficient, but if you like doing group content, you're going to be able to, and that begins at level 15. Another kind of cool thing for those that are worried about, looking for dungeon, looking for this, looking for that, kind of ruins things. Wildstar's got an answer for that too. You are going to have to discover the dungeon in the world before you can queue for it. So none of this, oh man, I just hit this level, poof, I'm magically going fucking miles away to a place I've never seen. Nope. Chuck Testa, Wildstar says, before you can enter it, you need to discover it. I think it's pretty fucking awesome. Nixus, how about you, man?
What I really love about this, dude, is it reminds me so much of what I used to love about the MMOs I used to play when I was younger, and even just Vanilla WoW. It adds like an aspect of exploration to the game, and it almost obliges you to go discover the world rather than being someone who's going to make a new character and you're going to sit in the capital city and you're going to keep queuing up for all these these different instances, and at the end you've got this level, like this cap level character, and I could go up to them and be like, so where is the Wailing Caverns? And they're just like, well, I have no idea. I don't know. Yeah. It's in the LFR UI. Like, I don't know. And I'm just like, this is, this is the way, and it is because I'm really big into lore and that kind of stuff. And I know Don might not agree with me to a certain extent, but to me, when you're in an MMO world, part of the appeal of playing the MMO and getting immersed, I want my immersion. I want to know, like, I'm in this world, and like, it is a world. It's not just like logging in through, I log in and I stand there and then I just kind of do stuff and then I log out, and it's like, no, I want to be a part of this world. So if I want to go do this dungeon, I have to run to it. And it's like, and on my way there, I realized that there's like different environments and there's creatures and there's places and it's a world. That's what I like about an MMO, is that it's a world. It's not just a couple buttons that you press, kill a boss, don't get an item, and that's it. And I know that doesn't appeal to everyone. A lot of people are just like, but I want ease of access. I don't have the time. I get home from like work at like 10 o'clock at night. I'm working 2 jobs. I don't have the time. Well, you know what? Like, I'm really sorry that that's the position you're in, but kind of sucks. But, some of us who do have the time to play the game want that out of it. And it's just like, if you even offer that option to have that shortcut, everyone's going to abuse it. And even like, let's say I'm trying to enjoy it, others who don't have the time aren't going to be like, I'm just happy to see that this is how they're doing it. If it were in my hands, it would be even one step farther. It would be like, you want to run that instance, you got to run your ass to the summoning stone and like summon all your friends there and then run in. You can't queue up. There's none of this queuing up stuff, but that's just me. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, who's this guy? What does he think he's saying? Like, but any comments on that, guys?
I am going to throw this at you. Two things about what you said. I like the summoning stones. I like the conflict they created on PvP servers, and I'm all about that sort of mechanic. Like, okay, we're all here, we're all outside this clock tower, we gotta ring the bell to summon some other people, and we need at least 3 people to do it. I think that's an old, lost mechanic, but I really think things like that are what made games so immersive and so badass. Like, Listen, if you want casual games to just derp around with, they're coming out with some new voxel game that you can go play. It's a sandbox. You get to choose your own adventure every time. There's fucking Cube World. I'm looking for a game that I can get immersed in, have fun, and play with my friends and play hardcore. But when I'm done being hardcore, I can go and have fun with more than just one aspect. And little things like, seriously, having to go to this place in the physical world to know where it is might intrigue me to check out some of the quests nearby, to find out if there's some rep. It makes the game... It's not more realistic, and it's not just more immersive. It makes it better. I don't want to say quality either. I want a game that isn't just ease of access, looking for raid, get in, do content, look badass. I want things to be meaningful and fun. And yes, not everybody has all the time for that. But if you're having an enjoyable experience, no matter what you're doing, just because you're not as far ahead as somebody doesn't mean you're still not having that amazing quality experience. I mean, isn't that what it's about? Yeah, okay, so you can only play 1 hour a night, and you're fucking 20, 30 levels behind everybody. But if that experience is just as awesome at level 20 as it is at 50, as it is in a raid, isn't that what you're supposed to be aiming for as somebody making a game? Anyways, Aegon, how about you, man?
For systems that are currently the standard now, I think having to travel there, the meeting stones are the way it needs to go. I mean, we'll never see the systems that I love the best, like EQ, where, shared dungeons, we had to actually fight for the boss mobs, and where actually dungeons were essential to travel. You actually had to travel through Guk to get to another part of the land. That stuff's long gone, and we'll never see it again, sadly. But, I mean, we have to deal with what we have now, because people want to keep putting more of an ease of play into the game. So, at least having to travel there and find the dungeon before we do it, I love that. So, and if they do summoning stones, I'll be fine.
That's how the original Guild Wars was, where you had to travel through caves and stuff and do dungeons to get to the next town.
Yeah.
And that was a really fun system. I loved it.
Yeah, that's the Evan said, EQ1 was definitely for the hardcore. I mean, but it was the most fun. Going in those dungeons on the PvP servers and just wiping out entire parties and taking the boss from them while they all lay dead. Watching you kill the boss. That's always fun.
Yep. And one of the things that I think is most important about an experience in MMO, and I base this purely on my experience with it and the memories that I have of World of Warcraft and Guild Wars and stuff, but some of the most exciting and most memorable stuff that ever happened in any game I've played happened not while I was in a dungeon, though there are some great experiences while I was in the dungeon, but what happened while I was on my way there. Like, while I was traveling there, I found this super rare mob, and I killed it, and I got this super epic item. But while I was killing it, some Alliance characters saw me and came over and started fighting me. And then, because of that, I had 2 of the guys that were in my raid come help me up. And then he had his entire guild come, and all of a sudden it's this huge freaking fight going on, and, shit's blowing up all over the place. And, what we were originally doing, right, we were going to go run an instance. And now it's now I'm just going to queue up, and I'm going to get in the instance. And if I decide I'm going to leave the instance, I'm just going to take my flying mount and fly into the sky and over everything that's going on and not know, half of what's fucking going on in the world. It's I want that experience back. And if you don't like it, there are plenty of games out there that can appeal to you. But let's make this game that experience again. Please, Carbine. Sorry, that was my rant.
I agree. Hey. We all seem to care, and we've talked about this before. One of the conversations I had with Jeremy Gaffney and the crew at PAX East was, we're tired of ex-girlfriends. We don't want to play games that just want our money for a couple months, and then it sucks. So that's why we're so passionate. And everybody I've talked to that's an old school player has that same feeling. We want something that we can play with our friends when we have time, as hard or as soft as we want to, for fun or competitively. We want it to be a place that we can stay, and that's what we're looking for. That's why these things are so passionate to us, But anyways, enough about that. Let's get back into this dungeon chat here. Sword Maiden is a dungeon. It's available at max level. A couple of cool notes here. They were talking about how, dungeons are randomized, how PvE content is randomized to make it more fun and interactive. First of all, instances do not have a lockout. You do an instance, not like you got to stop. If you've got the time, you can keep doing them over and over and over again. And we were told that the route is randomized. You go in one time, and Magic Crystal Wall says you can go one place, and you do it, and you go back out and go back in, and now you can do boss A, but you can't do B, C because you got to go do D first. So that's kind of cool. There's a mention about mini bosses. Dungeons may potentially have mini bosses. They're not all going to spawn. And this one says it has everywhere from 3 to 5. I didn't get the actual total for the actual dungeon, but this was one of the mechanics that they've thrown in there. Optional fun things to do. Before we go any further, Andres, I think you had something you wanted to add here?
Yeah. I had just two questions to throw out to the group. One, when I hear about mini bosses, and we don't know anything about war plots, and my key thought of is when I think of non-raid instances, true dungeons, things that are done with 5 or groups of people. If I have a war plot that I'm not part of this big, large raiding guild, I wonder if those are the type of bosses I can also grab. Because we've always heard about, hey, even Gaffney's talked about, you drop a raid boss in there and he stomps around and crushes your opponents on war plots. And I always wonder how many bosses will be able to be harvested this way. And will smaller guilds who are not raiding the big things, will they be able to put together a mixed team of people, and will they find creatures? And then my second question is, for mini bosses, I wonder how they're going to be triggered. What do we know about paths and instances in any general? So, because I'm an explorer or because I'm a scientist or something, will that allow me to trigger these mini bosses, or are the mini bosses only tied to a random roll of the draw? So if I come in tonight into this instance, a dice rolls behind the screen. If it's a 1, 2, or 3, I get this many bosses. If it's a 4, 5, 6, do I get this many bosses? Or is it going to be based on who you have with you and maybe their skill sets? Can we change our luck of how many bosses we'll see? So I guess I haven't seen anything or read anything about that. I don't know if you guys have seen anything or read anything about that.
I will throw some 10 cents or 20 cents in here. Somebody in chat just said, what stops people from entering and re-entering to get, the quote-unquote path that they want? I don't think it's going to be noticeable. I don't think you're not going to know until you're there. I don't think it's going to be like you hit M and then it's like, here's all the mofos. I think it's going to be more like you got to go there to see. And at that point, you're already invested. So, I've killed boss number 1, but we only got optional boss B and C, but didn't get A. Let's leave. I don't see mini bosses being that important. And to go back to what you said, Andres, about taking dungeon stuff into a war plot, I'm gonna have to say. Actually, I was gonna say no, thank you. But let's put this in currency econ that maybe you'll understand.
Sure.
If they've told us that you're going to take a raid boss and put a raid boss on your war plot, right? If I want to put, not even let's upgrade it because mini boss is too small for me. Let's say it's one of the bosses in Sword Maiden, right?
Sure.
You better have to have killed that dude a shit ton of times, or
luck
you
of the
better
drop,
have killed.
Right? Luck of the drop. Is
no. No. We're talking about currency. So I go into regular Sword Maiden, not the veteran, which we'll talk about in a second. If I go into Sword Maiden, I better have to do that like 50 some odd times for it to count as much as a raid boss. Because Sword Maiden is simple, dirt mode, easy level dungeon. It's not even veteran. So if it's veteran, maybe I'd have to kill it 20 times if this was a thing. Because you're supposed to be able to put a raid boss on your war plot. These other things have no cooldown. You're able to just go through and cycle through them no matter what. Raid is once a week.
I agree, but what about diminished returns? So I'll throw this back to you, Mr. PvP guy. What if I'm dropping in something that's less skilled? So we all know that we can drop a boss in a war plot, but what if I'm a war plot guys that don't raid? Does that mean I'll never be able to have something that sits there and stomps around? So maybe if I get something, it's only a third as good as the big ugly that maybe you get. I mean, I'm
But send
just
out
saying
more?
that. Well, no,
Well,
but maybe
there's a-
maybe it's a much weaker version of the boss. I'm just wondering. It just seems like they said, well, war plots don't have to be guilds, but if it's only raids to get the items for that war plot, well, then doesn't it make it seem like war plots are only guilds?
No. If you don't have access to raid content to get yourself a raid boss, then you won't have a raid boss. You'll have something else that you'll be, doing more than likely. I don't see it being a make or breaker. I see it being
okay.
part of the system. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
we're going to have, whatever sort of awesome stuff in our war plot going forward. We just don't have access to that, so we're going to be able to do something else. I don't see it being the end all, like, oh crap, these guys have, a war plot boss, a raid boss, and then that being like, oh shit, they win, GG.
And I think
That's
more than
the
likely.
tilt. Yeah, I was just curious. It's like if you have a slot of, if you have an action set bar, do raid people based on war plot get the 7th spot of their limited action set, where people who don't raid only get to go to the party with 6?
no,
Look.
I was just curious.
Go ahead, Aegon.
I don't see the raid boss
I think the raid
war
boss
plot being...
The raid boss
Sorry.
is going to be a trade-off, I think, in war plots. I think, like, if you're a group of people that don't raid, you're going to be able to put a ton more weapons and destructive items in your war plot. But if you're going to if you're a group that can drop a raid boss in your plot, you're not going to have nearly as many heavy weapons to defend. So once that raid boss goes down, you're pretty vulnerable at that point. So I think it's going to be a trade-off to balance for those groups that don't raid and those groups that raid.
Sure,
so,
that makes sense. Go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to spin us, but when I ever see the word bosses, I always wonder what makes a boss worthy of being taken to that next level of plots, I guess.
Right.
Go ahead, Nixus. Go ahead.
I linked it in chat. I see a raid boss being one of those things that you're going to summon, not because it's going to be, like you said, the end all kind of thing. You don't automatically win the second you let your raid boss out, but more of like, let's say you're at a block and you're at the front lines, and it's just kind of like, I'm sure you guys have played Ultra Valley past Burning Crusade. You're on the bridge and no one's getting past each other, and you're going to summon, like, Locklar, the thing I linked in chat, to help you push through that, just to give you that opening and that moment of opportunity. Now, I don't, I don't, at least I hope not. I don't hope that the raid bosses are going to be as powerful as they are in the actual instances or wherever you may find them.
Oh my god.
I don't.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be pretty ridiculous. And are they even going to, keep the same mechanics that they have in those instances? Or are they going to have like one or two that you get to, like, let's say it's like an actual player, you get like 10 different mechanics that they have during the boss fight, and you switch out one or two of them that you think are the best, and he can use those two during his time out in the field. And do you get to choose when he uses them and that kind of stuff? Is it going to be like a weapon rather than like its own AI walk around, stomp around? Like it'll walk around and fight.
Yeah, is it a battle pet versus its own AI? I guess would be a good question. Yeah.
Now,
sorry,
let's say that you're going to, with the effort, I guess I see, you should be somewhat vulnerable after it goes down because, it did give you that huge advantage for like those 5 or 10 minutes that it was out. But you shouldn't, if you don't win during the time that it's out on the field and then it goes down, it shouldn't mean that you then lose because you're so vulnerable that they can just like come in and you don't have enough defenses to like protect yourself and that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm going to wait and see how it really pans out. But when it comes to being vulnerable, it's that one statement that Aegon made. I don't think it depends on how vulnerable, right?
Well, if they make it as strong as the raid boss, you're going to be paying a lot of whatever your build points are for it. So if you lose it, you should be vulnerable for losing that huge investment you put down. Now you could spend more points to build back up, but you have to defend the base. But you have to defend the base until you build it up.
Instead of a 12-foot wall, but you brought in the Mechazilla, where Blank's team built the 12-foot wall, without the Mechazilla, so what better position they are once Mechazilla's gone.
Well, it's like well,
Yeah, we could have like
you got the 8 foot
we
wall
could
on
have like
Mechazilla.
7 episodes on this, and I could go nuts. So.
Like the 8 foot wall on Mechazilla, while Blank built like the 12 foot wall with 300 guns on top of it. So.
I out of what could or couldn't be about war plots, Jesus, can we just for Christmas, Carbine, please? Races, factions, all that stuff. Wow, cool. For the love of tiny baby Jesus, can we just get some war plot info for Christmas? Like, can we just peek? Can we just peek? Something. We are dying. But when it comes to raid bosses, I feel like it's going to be something that is strictly offense or defensive, and you're going to pull the trigger, and it's going to be part of some... I don't think you're going to build your entire war plot around it, but I think it's going to have a significant impact on the gameplay. Because depending on how it's built and how it's made, it doesn't sound like it's not just a dungeon boss. This is something that people put in and got from another hardcore place to put in their other hardcore place to go and kick people's butts. Like, but I don't think it's going to be as game-breaking. Go ahead.
I'm assuming war plots they're going to have some kind of rank system, and by having that raid boss, you are going to have a huge advantage over the regular war plot, but you're not going to get paired against those regular war plots as often, right? Because you're going to stomp on them. Like, you should have that advantage. It's like it's the same idea as gear, right? It's like when you progress in PvP and you get that more, you have your 900 resilience and you have your PvP gear. Yeah, you should absolutely shit on whoever else has just regular PvE gear, and like. I think it is going to give you that huge advantage, and like it's going to, like you said, you're going to be taking one hardcore thing and putting in another hardcore thing, and you're going to make yourself so badass that other people are going to like tremble as soon as they see that they're matched up against you. But to counter that, they're not going to get matched up against you because you're only going to be going against like the creme de la creme. You know what I mean? It's just
okay. Are you ready? Early game, guilds that rush, they get in. They get into veterans. They knock a boss down. They do their war plot. They're facing people. They're rolling over. They get up higher. They're facing other people that they know have a boss. And then you see people not popping it early. That's what I'm looking forward to. Like, okay, we've crushed these other war plots, but now they're getting kind of difficult. They're at our same level. Oh, we've actually done PvE. Let's drop our our PvE raid boss in here. There goes Illidan stomping out on the battleground. That's what's really going to be funny to me, is to see how that irons itself out meta-wise. And if it even becomes a thing, if people are going to third craft it and they're going to be like, it's not worth it. You can build bigger walls and more guns and, whatever. Instead of doing that, so that, don't do it. Or unless you're playing like super aggressive and then you want only this boss because he has this thing, and then you set up around a 30-second window to go crush them. So anyways, we're going to leave this here. We're going to move forward to finish up this. Just so you guys know, we're still talking about dungeons. Got a little sidetracked on, some raid boss stuff. But optional events are not randomized. Challenges are in dungeons. Challenges aren't. Challenges are bronze or silver and gold, and they have to do with optional events. Didn't get much more information other than that. We did get some times for you folks. I'm going to throw them at you. Storm Talon and Kelvrath are slated to be around a 30 to 45 minute run. Skullcano, we're being told, is 45 minutes to an hour. And Taurine Sanctuary is, we're looking at an hour and 15 to an hour and a half. That is a long time to be doing a dungeon. We got some notes here about Veteran. These are accessible only at level 50, and these are the next step up from your dungeons. They've also mentioned that they're not going to have a token or badge system. Thankfully, they're not going to. For those of you who've played in other games, they've had token badge systems. things depreciating, min-maxing with different badges, tier 1, tier 2, all that sort of shit is annoying. Wildstar's going to have something called Elder Gems. It's and I quote, a currency you can on tons of stuff, such as better gear, and something there was mentioning about chasing achievements. No idea, question mark there. But what you do need to know is that veterans are the next step into getting ready for raiding. There was a comment about crafting in dungeons, and there wasn't a whole lot of information here, but what there was progression to crafting. Are they going to be in dungeons? And what we were told is that there are going to be harvesting nodes, so they're going to find resources inside of dungeons. Andres?
Just real quick, when I saw the dungeons and crafting, I think of, all having to go into the alchemy lab, remember, and you're begging and pleading as a crafter for 4 other people to drag you somewhere so you can do something specific. And I want crafting and harvesting to be relevant for those people doing instances and dungeons, but, I think there's some other things we can do to make crafting more relevant than making it a requirement to only add these 2 items together inside an instance at a time. So I kind of hope that they avoid creating some sort of crazy dependency, because, I'd rather see it be more complicated and more nuanced and critical chances of successes and failures, instead of creating some odd dependencies where you can only make this item after you kill this boss in this dungeon or something. That's just me.
I don't know too much about crafting, and more than likely will refer to you. The only real big experience that I had with crafting that was important was for raid stuff, and that's the only crossover I ever worry about. Like, oh, hey, if you want the best weapon or the best shoulders, you have to change your crafting so that you can go from armor to weapon or shoesmith or whatever the hell to make the best thing, and then you got to get the resources, and that's always a pain in the ass. But other than that, though, Andres, it's going to be something I mostly defer to the people that theory craft that sort of stuff. Because I very rarely pay attention to crafting until I'm so comfortable in the content that I'm able to, when on my free time, I'm not just purely generating money, but I'm also looking for other avenues to make more money. So it's not just farming or fishing or whatever, but then it's like, oh, I have access to this stuff that 80% of other people don't. What can I craft, or what can I do, or what can I make that other people can't, that I can then make money off of? So when it comes to that stuff in general, my hands are pretty much in the air. So all right, last thing we got for you folks. A lot of people have been asking about it. We have the confirmation about open beta. Team Wildstar put out a little tweet. Winter beta is still closed. You should expect open beta about a month before launch. So we're going to be looking forward to that big marketing open beta hype train. Choo choo, get on, let's go. Everybody crying about subscriptions a month before the game goes live. That was confirmed over on Twitter. Got you guys the old link right there. And with that, we're going to hammer into some questions, do the giveaways, and shout-outs, and then we'll be done. So first question we got here is from Blezel. What is everyone's thoughts on World PvP and the effect that this game is promoting large-scale guilds? Game is promoting large-scale guilds. In that large-scale guilds on PvP servers generally create strife. Missing some context. I guess we were talking about something about PvP. What I'll say about, I don't think that Wildstar is promoting large-scale guilds just because they're talking about 40-mans. There's been a lot of conversations about circles being put up by 4 different groups of 10-mans and them going in and doing raid stuff. So I wouldn't actually say that they're promoting large-scale guilds. I think that they're looking to the community to get together with like-minded approaches to go in to do content based upon their time zones and what they want to do. in large-scale guild PvP servers create strife. Strife is really not the right word. What you're looking for is conflict there. And conflict on PvP servers is amazing. Conflict is what creates those great memories like South Shore Torn Mill. They're the ones that create waiting for your arena queue to pop while farming fire motes in BC. Those are outside the summoning stone for, Karazhan, getting ready to go do that terrible scripted event of Romeo and Juliet over and over and over again. The correction I'm seeing is large-scale guilds are promoted because the number of people that are needed in PvE. No, I'm still going to disagree with you. 20 and 40 mans are large numbers. So yes, you might say that you need a large organization to attack those, but in the conversations we've had with the community, including the town halls for all of the time zones, is that there are guilds who are not ashamed of grouping up with other people. There are like-minded people that are going to be having circles, that are going to go in and do raids together. Yes, it may be a challenge to get one named organization together to do PvE and PvP content that needs 40 people organized to do it. But but I'm not really catching the train here. Andres, did you want to throw something in here?
No, I was going to probably kind of go where Nixus is going, is that I think that with circles, I think that even if you're on a PvP server that has, let's say, a dominant guild on one side and a dominant guild on the other, I think that open world PvP will be more zone pull guild crossover / circle crossover than just, oh, well, there's nothing happening on open world PvP because guild A is not there to push back guild B, on rival sides. At least that's my hope. I would say I enjoyed open world PvP more than I did any other PvP because I felt it was free form. I thought I could do it for a while. It was fun. I didn't PvP for gear. I PvP because it was interesting and a break between the other grinds that I was doing. So to bring in open world PvP, I don't have any idea about the rewards of it. I think we can promote it as guilds as something fun, but I think with circles, I think the smaller guilds have crossovers to the larger guilds. So 3 small guilds, if they time it right, can easily push back a large guild on the other side if that's what the discussion is about. So.
Nixus?
I don't necessarily believe that there's more strife if you have bigger guilds than you would like smaller guilds, because it really depends on which aspect of the game you're talking about, right? If you're talking about PvP, yeah, you're going to have those rivalries like in any game, right? You're going to have Guild A versus Guild B, and everybody in Guild A hates Guild B, and vice versa. And like that might be a thing. However, when you have smaller guilds, and like let's say you've got like these circles you're talking about, you've got like 10-man circles, and they get together to do this 40-man instance and stuff. I think there can be just as much strife in that, because what happens when you've got 4 different leaders with their little groups that they, are each responsible for, get together, come to some kind of agreement on how they're going to distribute gear, how they're going to progress, who's going to be really, taking charge of the raid and blah, blah, blah. And because you can't round table that stuff. When you run a raid, you can't have 5 different people discussing the 5 different ways they want to run it. And like, you don't have time to do that when you're running a raid. And like, the way I see it is like, there's going to be a lot of strife if people do that and not join large guilds, because let's say, a super cool item drops and nobody expected it to drop, and the main DPS in Circle 1 wants it, but so does the main DPS in Circle 2, and then it gets into this whole like drama on each TeamSpeak, and it's like, to me, that's just as much drama as you would have between 2 major guilds. So for PvE, I think there's going to be a lot less strife or drama and stuff created by just having those larger guilds. For PvP, though, it really just depends. I'm looking forward to I mean, with what we're going for, I'm sure we're going to be that guild that people are like, uh-oh, here comes the cavalry, and it's just like, you had Guild A and Guild B, these two smaller guilds duking out, and we hear about it in zone chat, and we're showing up, and like, I don't know, I'm looking forward to it. I think World PvP is going to be a lot of fun in this game, and you're totally right on Riz. The thing that I love most about World PvP is that I play it not to have some kind of reward. I don't do it for the grind or whatever. I do it because it's fun. And it's different every time. Like, you don't know where it's going to happen or why it's going to happen. It can happen for the dumbest reason. Like, X mob could have dropped a cupcake, and, you know, this guy wanted it, but the other guy wanted it too, so they started fighting, and all of a sudden you've got like 400 people in a zone, like, duking it out. Like, it's just fun. And I hope to see it again, which is why this is completely off subject, but this is again why we should not have flying mounts. I do not want to see them in the game.
So,
oh, that would be good to end it on.
Aside from that, what Bleslow's trying to say here, and I'll agree, when you have more people in organizations, whether it's guilds or circles, more people respond. This encourages world PvP, and I agree with you. If, I don't know, one of our casual, let's say Cat, random Cat right here is out, you know, and she's doing some farming with, you know, her hubby, and they're out, and they're, you know, lower level, they're just, you know, having fun. You know, in our guild, we have a lot of really cool casual people that play when they want to play and have a good time. Now, if somebody decides to mess with Kat, who is the one who makes my drinks, is the one who helps in chat, who's an awesome part of our, you know, organization, you can be for damn sure that the call will go, I don't care what you're doing, you stop, you're done, we're going out to wherever it is, and we're going to stomp on some people's dicks. Like, this is happening right now, let's go. They've told us that open world PvP is not something that's slated to be done or put together as a design choice for Wildstar, but you're going to see a whole hell of a lot of these back and forth battles, and I'm really looking forward to see where they are, because there are definitely going to be those cool clips that you see on YouTube of, you know, it started here, it'll play some funny music, and then this person killed this person, and the next thing you know, their whole guild showed up, and then their whole server showed up, and then, like, they're all fighting each other, here we go. Like, I'm really looking forward to that, because it's a lot of fun, you know, until it's raid time, and then when it's raid time, shit gets serious quick when it's like, oh man, we got to get inside here, and that enemy guild's just sitting there. Fuck a war plot. How are we going to get in? How are we going to get in there? You know, we're going to stomp into them. We're going to run in. You know, so yeah, that's definitely going to be a lot of fun. We're going to hop into this next question. What Scotch producing region do you prefer and why? Alternatively, which mash build do you prefer in an American whiskey? I'm going to go with whatever one Cat says to buy, and more than likely that's what goes in my cup and in my stomach. So yeah, I don't particularly have a region and or preference, but anybody wants to send me a Twitch message with some cool whiskey to check out or Scotch, let me know. Oh, Aegon's got an answer to this. Go ahead, man.
Well, for me, any single malt Irish whiskey is pretty much my way to go. I gotta.
Hard to go wrong with Macallan. Hard to go wrong with Macallan, though.
I got an 18-year-old Glenfiddich, so.
I got honey whiskey and fuzzy root beer, whatever the hell I'm drinking, and I'm already having a good time. You guys are saying strife. Strife is not the correct term. It's conflict. Conflict is healthy and good in an MMO, especially if it encourages good times, like open world PvP. That's not strife. Strife it has this negative connotation. Conflict that is organically built into the game. I'm on a PvP server. My homie gets ganked. I show up. Two of his buddies show up. I make a call. He makes a call. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, the next 3 hours, you're camping people. You're recording stuff. You're having a good time. You're saying, yo, baddies. They're saying, hey, baddies, you missed this. Learn to play, noobs. And it's all in good fun. And everybody talks shits on the forums, and you walk away and have a good time. Conflict,
I think the way I interpreted strife was much different. I was thinking more on a metagame level than I was of an in-game level. In-game, definitely. Having the bigger groups of people that are there to back one another up and having that sense of, I don't know about patriotism, but like having that sense of brotherhood, right? Where if your buddy just got killed, well, you're going to go stand up for him, right? Because he's your buddy and you guys are under the same name. And it's like, yeah, definitely having bigger guilds where people are attached to the same goal or the same name or whatever it is going to create more world strife because you are going to have those people backing each other up. And I think it's a huge thing. Like, it's a good thing, and I encourage it. and it's an MMO. Like, you're out there. I know an MMO is meant to be played the way you want it to be, but I encourage anyone out there, do not play an MMO alone. It's not the same thing. If you just play it because you don't have a choice and you don't play an hour a day, it doesn't matter. You can still play with a guild and like get to know people. Like, that's the greatest part about MMOs. You make friends, like real life friends, as you go through the MMO, and like that's the whole experience of what an MMO is. It's more than just a game, and that's what I always try to push with any MMO. But yeah, that's going on to a different subject there. But yeah, definitely larger guilds do create strife. It's good. Good point. Mike Space? Why? What's that face?
It's not strife. Cap put it in here. Strife is vigorous, bitter, discord, antagonism. Strife is what happens from conflict. When you fight another organization so much that you hate them, that there's so much discord, that the friendly poking back and forth is no longer a thing, that's strife. Like, when you're like, it just seems bitter and jealous to me. When I think conflict, I think healthy, fun, poke, we kicked your guys' ass here, you guys kicked their ass there.
That's what you think of with conflict?
Yeah, conflict can be healthy and good. Anyways,
conflict
do the next
diamonds.
question.
Healthy conflict diamonds. Yes, thank you, Blake. Yes, I think it's there we go.
I'm being told that I need to drink more, so you got to do the next question, and I'll be right back.
That's you, Nixus. Right?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, that's totally me. All right. This is from Zypher Thruns, 3NS. Totally sorry. Zypher runs. Anyway, I personally want to hear. I'm not muted, am I? No. I personally want to hear what these four have to say about Esper healers versus Spellslinger healers. Kat, did we talk about this earlier? I forgot. We sort of talked about it in the sense that like we had compared Esper healing and Spellslinger healing to other classes and why we thought other classes in different games and why we thought they would resemble them. I guess, Onrez, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. I would say, from what I've been able to interpret, and again, seeing the actual live stream, I was impressed by, and hopefully we'll see more on the Spellslinger actually in-game rating. In-game partner, party work. The Esper doing the party work, sure they died a lot, but mainly because the guy was really too busy talking about what he was doing instead of doing it. I did like the fact that, in one of the healing mechanics, he dropped an actual spot where the tank could walk through to trigger their own healing when they needed it. So sure, you have your direct spells, you have your area effect spells, but you also had a trigger-like spell, it looked like, where you dropped it in and had the kind of floating goldfish. So as the tank was moving around and controlling the boss, if the tank decided, hey, now I need that heal, that the tank could then control its own trigger of that spell. That really interests me. I think that's an interesting mechanic. It's, it's like dropping, things on the ground. It's not a telegraph. It's actually a triggerable, positive trap of some sort. So I haven't, until I see the Spellslinger heal a party, I don't know how I would compare that to the Esper, but I sure like the mechanics I saw in the Esper for party healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I personally see the Esper being the bigger raid healer and the Spellslinger being the bigger like arena PvP healer. That's purely based on the information we have now, and we'll wait and see how it pans out during the game. I could be completely wrong, but as of right now, that's in a nutshell how I would describe it. Yeah. Aegon?
Can't really say. So the difference, want to hear say about Esper versus Spellslinger and their healing.
Wow, you got thrown under the bus, dude.
Yeah, I did, because I was kind of like dealing with Chad as well. So, what I think about them in terms of how they heal.
Just pass, dude.
It's just. I don't really know what he wants to know about it exactly. I mean, does he have more what he really wants to know? What we think about differences?
No, he was just looking for the difference.
Yeah,
if you had anything
general.
personal to throw out, we're gonna see how it works out. I will say for me, I'll say Aegon. I got you. Fucking friggin' Nick just throws you off of, the fucking cliff here into the deep water, I'll grab you, bro. Here's a here's a lifeline.
It was an easy question.
Esper healing versus Spellslingers. If they've said it as a design, Espers have big single target cool beans, Spellslingers have AoE, or area of effect. What do I have to say? They're both gonna have their place, and they're both gonna be strong in certain encounters. So we've already talked about that. The next question we've already kind of talked about, so we're gonna go to this last one. Have any of the recent class drops changed what you guys intend to pick for your main class? Then the follow-up question is, what do I intend to play? No, the class drops are not going to change for me personally, because in every organization I've been in, I play. Well, that's not true. In World of Warcraft, I switched my character based upon what I wanted to do and what I could do for the next expansion. So I was a healer in 40 mans, and then I did rogue DPS, and then I switched to shaman for versatility and wrath. But any other game past that where I've had a leadership role and I wasn't just hardcore number 1, number 2 DPS heals, whatever, I always play what is the strongest and will benefit my organization the most. So right now I can't actually really tell you what exactly I'd be playing, but none of the class drops are going to change that. How they actually work in the game and what our organization needs is what I'll end up playing. Even if it's not my favorite or what I'm strongest at, I'll just fucking have to get better at it. So, how about you guys? Nixus?
When it comes to the class that I want to play based on the information that has been released, I'd say I'm still sticking to the Spellslinger. It seems like it's the I played a hunter. I have Tazdingo, like a statuette next to me. I love mobility classes that are all about, kind of keeping that distance and making sure that like you're doing as much damage as you can while you're on the move, that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking the Spellslinger is going to fill that. Is going to fill that for me, but we'll wait and see. We still don't know what the two, redacted classes are, and for all you know, I might be in love with one of those. And I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting to find out.
I'm gonna have to err on the
Junior
side of
created
something
ain't
that's
no crime when you're a
again,
wampoos.
heavier armor. So I'm waiting for something. Maybe that I guess I can play a DPS warrior, but I'm hoping for something else. Really, I'm hoping for something else. So, I would say Spellslinger would be my alt. Seeing a Chua Spellslinger, it was made me laugh out loud, and I really liked the way it moved.
For me, I think my main is probably still going to be a Spellslinger, at least until I see what the other classes have in store. May change my mind, we don't know. But I mean, so far my favorite class is still Spellslinger.
All right, well, I'm going to throw something at someone in chat here. Talking about skill mechanics, ? We don't know much about them. We get what we can out of the AMAs, and that's all we got. So we talk about the most relevant week to week. Welcome to Late Night Dominion. Aegon, while we switch to this scene, try to pause our videos and then unpause them to see if it makes us not look like robots anymore. And you guys are going to see about a giveaway tonight. We are going to pick a random person, right meow, out of active chat for a Hearthstone beta key. So, Aegon, can you pick that person for me, please?
Right
meow. And
I'm doing it right meow.
And
You're meow.
here.
And rolling. Oh my gosh, guess who won? Probably somebody who already has
Boom.
one.
Who is it?
Boom.
Who is it?
Boom.
Boom. Boom, boom.
Though I think she already has one.
Let's see if she says something in chat here.
See, she's
Boom.
alive.
Blind.
Are you alive, Boom?
Wakey, wakey. Stop sipping on your wine and passing out drooling on yourself. All right, so she's drooling on herself. We'll see if she says something here soon. Here's the second part. This is what we poked Pappy about. Kind of came up with a cool idea. You see those cool pins up there? I'm going to show you what they look like right here, right now, if you can switch back to us, Aegon. Oh, it is super attractive. So, let me know when you switch back. All right.
My face is back.
Right here. One of these, right here. These are from PAX Prime. You can only get these on the old eBays now. Nixus has some, lore questions. First person to answer the questions, 3 of them, correctly, will get one of these sent off. And yes, I know, I still have to send other people's shit off. God, I've had to send stuff to Aegon for like 2 months now. I'm terrible at it. They're in boxes next to me. I promise that this week I will be sending this stuff off. Person tonight that wins gets to pick one of these. So, lore questions. Nixus has them. I'm not answering them. You folks are. We're going to keep track of who gets them. All right, Nixus. Do not answer in chat unless you're sure. You don't get multiple answers. You get 1 swing, and you're out for each question. Good to go?
Yep.
Checking chat. Here we go.
Perfect, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off the question and its difficulty, and then I'll post it in chat after that so you guys can copy-paste and go off and look for the answers like 90% of you are going to do. So the first one's an easy one. It's almost a free point. Easiest of the 3. Why did the Chua eventually join the Dominion? So that's question 1. Kind of a freebie if you ask me, but not everyone might know.
Strider says test weapons?
Incorrect.
Incorrect. Boo 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 boo. They needed resources. Y'all have Google. Come on, you're on a computer.
Google.
So are we actually going to wait for people to answer in chat, or are they going to tweet us the answers? How are we going to do this?
Right here. Right in chat.
Right
First
here.
person to get it.
Right here, right now. This is a
Y'all
thing.
might even be looking for answers.
Go get some answers.
Oh God! If this is how long it takes for this question, wait to see that.
A need for resources.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Was it Nini?
Nini answered first. Yeah, I don't think anyone answered that before her.
It was close with Zypher. All right, we're gonna put Nini down. Knee. Q1.
Yep, that's
All
actually perfectly right. They were introduced to technology by the Makari, and they kind of went apeshit crazy and started consuming all the resources on their planet, and then they were out of them. So in exchange for their mad scientist inventions, the Dominion agreed to furnish them with as many resources as they would need. So that's the answer to that question. Next question here. A little bit harder, still not impossible to answer. So here we go. And this is the medium one. What was the name of the young Granok who led the war parties against the Dominion and eventually drove them off of the planet Nox? Who was, it's why was he, as well as his followers, exiled from Nox? So it's a 2-part question. Who was he, and then why was he and his followers kicked from the planet? Barney Rubble. Good try, not quite.
Well, I'm just going with names that make sense for a Granok.
Listen.
So remember, guys, it's a 2-part question.
Pappy needs to show up next week because this is bullshit. Doing all this lore crap. Uh-oh.
Perfect. Zypher's the first person to have answered both questions at the 2-part question in one. So, Terperp, you were right with your answer up there, but you didn't say Durek. So, congratulations, Zypher, on that one.
Do you see Zypher first? Because I see K-Dark.
K-Dark. Well, K-Dark said Durek, but he didn't answer the second part, why were they kicked from the planet?
Exactly. Boom! I need to have another drink. So, Q2. All right. So, you have one more, right?
Yep. So, this, to me, still isn't that hard, but could be for certain people. Question number 3. Are you ready? Which highly esteemed Dominion character was created from the genetic information of a famed Cassian sword maiden? Who was he, and what was the name of the sword maiden?
Blank space. Blank space awesomeness.
Some effing Care Bear was not correct.
Guys, this is supposed to be fun. I mean, fun.
These really aren't that hard.
Is that right?
I don't know. It would have to be a 2-part answer. There we go. Katarina gets the answer. So Dominus the Half-Blood was created by the Elden using the genetic information of sword maiden Tressain Toria. And he was basically created to be the idol of the Dominion. So yeah, that was a very good answer. Perfect. That was pretty fast. Good job, Katarina. And guys, I know not everybody cares about the lore, but if you have, taken at least a couple minutes to look into the lore of this game, it's really great. It's well written and it's a lot of fun. And I've already becoming, I've barely even played the game, only at the PAX floor, and I'm already super attached to these characters. And I cannot wait to start seeing, here's the thing I've always said about lore. When you're familiar with lore, and the story behind the characters and stuff, it adds a certain level of immersion that you're never going to get if you don't read it. Lore, no, dude. When you're in game and you walk up to an NPC and you recognize their name and you know what their history is and what they've done and what they represent, it adds that next level of immersion, and it makes the game that much better. Honestly, if you care about making your experience great, do it. It's not like we're asking you to read novels here. These are entries that come out on a regular basis that have been for the last 2 years. And they're easy reads, they're fun, and I cannot wait until they finally start writing books. I don't know if that's even a thing they've planned on, because I will be first in line to read them. But yeah, really good answers tonight. Thanks a lot for participating, guys.
Okay.
And Mondo Zax for president, for sure.
Nixus, we need one more.
One more
question. We're going to do another. We're going to random, because Boom apparently is so drunk. She's drooled on herself, and she's no longer in chat. So we're going to roll that off, and then the winner between Nini, Zypher, and Kat for this next question, Nixus goes to find, will be the grand prize pin winner. So Nixus will find a question, and Aegon, who's getting this Hearthstone beta key?
Do we want this one to be really hard?
Up to you. You can make it whatever, man. It doesn't need to be crazy. So, who do we got for our random, Aegon?
Dulius.
Dulius. Chat, say something so I can ping your name and hook you up with a Hearthstone beta key. If you are not there, we're just gonna hand it out to anybody like it's crack. I don't know. I've only got 7 of them left, for Christ's sake, so. Not seeing anything.
Well, we'll give him 2 minutes.
Sleeping.
Give him 2 minutes. If he doesn't reply, we'll roll again.
I want the crack.
I got one.
Nice. All right. Nini, Zypher, and Kat. Get ready. This question's coming out. He's going to ask it. First person with the correct response is getting a pin. Go for it,
Perfect, guys. So, question number 4 to see who's the winner. What is the name of the Dominion admiral who rebelled against the Dominion and eventually led his own warship called the Star of Dominus? Traitor. Zypher has the answer.
Boom! First place goes to Zypher, second Kat, and then Nini.
That
Zypher.
was really close.
We're going to get you with a message pop up right here. What I'm going to need you to do is send me a Twitch message. I'm going to type here in chat. Hi. send me a Twitch message with your shipping information. It doesn't matter where it is. Thank you to Time Warner Cable, LOL. And I will send your pack spin to you. Which one are you going to want? Are you going to want this crappy looking Granok or this badass Draken?
Draken.
Well chosen.
All right. All right. We're going to send one more roll out here, get to the rest of the show, and then we'll be done. After this, if nobody wants it, shit, we'll just put it on the fucking screen and give it away. Damn.
Ooh, Springy. Mr. Spring.
Mr. Spring?
Yeah, Mr. the Spring. Our good old friend Spring.
I think Spring is not going to be there.
I do not believe, no.
Oh.
Roll it again. Hit the button.
Making
Excuse me.
muffins.
Muffin top. Everyone's
Making
favorite
muffins.
prom.
Making muffins.
Say something in chat, man, or yeah.
What's up,
Boom.
muffins? Congratulations.
We're gonna hook you up with a Hearthstone beta key from the old Subterfuge Gaming Vault. Thanks for stopping by, checking out Late Night Dominion, and I'll get that sent off to you. At this point, folks, we're gonna finish up our shout-outs, and then we're gonna bounce out. Wanted to say hello and good luck to Ladies of the Roundtable. It's a site dedicated to empowering female gamers. The content is coming from Shrivasta, Ask Shrivasta, Bonks, Sai Ravi, and Darth Paige. You're going to get a link. Another cool thing being put out there. Anything that's all about people empowering themselves and being badass, that's cool. Again, Blue Blades, Wildstar, Blogspot. The site is pretty cool. We always love to see new content being put out by inspired and awesome people in the Wildstar community that have a good rep, put out good content, and are awesome people. So definitely go check that out. Big thanks again tonight to Onrez for stopping by. Beetle tonight had to go save Gotham. Kind of the problem is, though, I think he left his mask here, so everybody's going to know who he is. Make sure to follow this Twitch channel. We did do the town halls last week. They were a great success. A lot of awesome fan sites and organizations showed up. We talked about the future of Wildstar, the past, discussed a lot of community events, and then a lot of popular opinions about where the direction was going, and through some feedback to Carbine. Make sure to check us out on Twitter. I promise maybe 50% of our stuff will be relevant about Wildstar, and the rest will probably be Nixus with inappropriate stuff and me tweeting about how much people are annoying. And check us out on Facebook. Not sure exactly how much gets put on there. Aegon's the one who makes sure that happens, and Nixus is the one who makes the pretty little content. So with that, thanks again for tuning into Late Night Dominion. This is your weekly Wildstar source for everything that you need to know about Wildstar. If you feel like sitting back, having an adult beverage, and listening to someone tell you everything you need to know instead of reading it, seeing it, going through it yourself, this is the place to be. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Blank Space. Guys, go ahead and say goodnight, and I will let these folks get off to bed. Thanks for stopping by.
Night, everybody.
Night.
Thanks a lot. What is going on?
I'm a moron. Fucking mute with Mike. Whatever.
I'm just like, what are we doing?
So, we're not live anymore?
No, we're still live.
I think we're still live.
We're still live.
No, we meant to say we won't be here next week. It's Thanksgiving, but we will see you in 2 weeks.
Well,
What he said. Good catch.
We might try to move Late Night Dominion. That is, thank you, Aegon. we may try to move late night Dominion, but it is Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your families. Good catch, producer Aegon. This is why we keep him around. He may not be talking all the time. He might get thrown under the bus by friggin' Nixus, but this guy keeps the ship pretty locked down, pretty tight. So, it definitely won't be next Thursday. Pay attention to social media to find out if we make any changes. We're definitely looking forward to seeing you folks potentially sometime. Different time, same bat channel next week. And now, we'll probably go say goodnight. I think.
All right, yeah. Good night, everyone.
Let's try that again.
Just take it easy. The derps are strong with me tonight. Take it easy, folks.